And you think the penalty shouldn't have started with not doing proper checks before delving into the business? For instance, Yola Disco. Recall, by the time they moved in, we still had Boko Haram insurgency in that part of the country, and thereafter they started talking about losses and a couple of other things happening in that disco. Can you give us an update of what exactly is happening with Yola Disco and the consumers there?
Well, the government has taken over Yola Disco. The consumers are being served.
So the investors, they had to pull out of that, right?
I'm not up to date on whether the transactions in terms of pull-out arrangements have been done, because it's not within the regulatory purview. I think it's a policy issue that...
but for the consumers around the
consumers are being served. The consumers
are still being served.
Yeah, the consumers are being served.
I've got a question from Daddy here who says, where is the evidence that discos are not getting expected returns? What KPI or measuring indices are you using?
One example, the cost of gas that was used for the other tariff was not market realistic, was not based on the reality of the cost of gas. There was a time we have this gas to power policy that was never feasible. And therefore the gas producers did not have incentive to supply gas for domestic use. Right now we've used the right pricing for gas, which is $2.50 plus 80 cents in terms of, about 80 cents in terms of transportation. So the cost of gas now is now realistically placed in the tariff, and that's one of the reasons why the tariff also had to go slightly high. Of course, we also had to take care of the issues about the foreign exchange. So we sent our auditors also to look at the books of the distribution companies. And important thing to note now that from February 1, all transaction in the electricity supply industry is now based on contract. What it means now is that all the players now have letters of credit. Either they gave to the embed or to the MO. You are now obligated to pay back for that quantum of power that is given to you. It's not like before. So we are not in a contract-based regime. So we're expecting that going forward now, the liquidity market issues that we have in the market will be a thing of the past. We're also expecting that as much as possible now, the issue about collection losses going high will no longer be there much, because whether you like it or not, there's a certain threshold that was allowed, and you have been given this power that is backed up with a letter of credit. You don't collect this revenue, you get the addition invoked. So
the views of Labour Parliament is that, I mean, they say this is not the first time that we're having this kind of increase. Since 2012, for about 4 or 5 times, you've had that increase, and so there'll be, if you have consistently, discos now, increase this tariff, yet they haven't fulfilled certain obligations about providing this electricity supply to Nigerians. So what's the guarantee, especially now that we've got more time to meet everybody else, lose that revenue from estimated billing? They are just worried that, look, they don't have any incentive whatsoever to ensure that they meet everybody and on time.
Like I said, in the tariff model, there must be minor reviews and there must be major reviews. Minor reviews, because this is a business. The cost of goods and services in this country last year and this year are not the same. Be it bread, be it clothing, be it cars. The same thing with electricity. And therefore, for the minor reviews, we take care of issues like gas supply. How much is it? Inflation, foreign exchange, generating capacity. Because the more you have more generating capacity, the less the unit cost will be.
I get that point, but what they're saying is, if I understand it properly, is that they've increased for over 4 times, and services have not improved. Because some of them say, as of today, they're still grappling with maybe almost the same kind of challenge in terms of supply than they were previously.
Last week, we got the highest peak of over 5,000.
They have the highest peak, but it's not, people are not feeling that.
No.
This is what they're saying.
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
I'm not in their homes.
That's what they said. Last week, we got the highest peak of 5,000. As we speak now, one of the challenges that we had was, yes, NERC has given licenses, right? And it did not translate to electricity coming out. The truth about it is that part of the reason was, 1, we didn't have an off-taker, clear off-taker at that point. 2, the tariff was not realistic. It wasn't bankable. So when you have the license and you go to your banks and the banks say, no, I cannot give you the fund to take off. As we speak now, most of those that we're giving those licenses are now coming up for us to sign off as we speak.
That's the distribution licenses?
No, generating companies.
Okay.
As we speak. Because when we look at this whole tariff, it looks like Disco has 25%. Of this revenue they're collecting, it also has to send the money down to the MO, who has to take care of the transmission company, the generating companies. The generating capacity also has improved, but we have constraints. The constraints we have is the issue about transmission and the distribution infrastructure. The transmission infrastructure also, at a point, had difficulty in wheeling that power. And also the distribution companies also were rejecting power. But under this February 1 model, they can't reject the power anymore. If they reject that power, there's penalty for that.
I raised that question about consumers earlier because I have to go back to the tariff and how much increase they actually suffered. Some people, will talk about how maybe when they used to buy a certain amount, they got this certain amount. I'll give you an instance. At least I use a prepaid meter. So when I used to buy electricity, but yes, lucky me, 7,000 naira worth of units, I get about 400 and something, kilowatt hour. But now, with 10,000 naira, we only have 333, and I'm wondering, okay, it's a single phase meter. I don't know under what category I fall, but to 30 naira from maybe about less than about 10 naira or so per kilowatt hour is actually quite a substantial increase if you like. Some people say it's over 50% increase. And then for an estimated consumer who might not have electricity to pay that much, it's something, don't you think?
I've not seen your bill. However, the increase that we did, like I said, we have a cross-subsidy scheme. And therefore, certain category of customers, of course, their tariff went slightly higher, while the other tariff remained the way it is or slightly lower. And it depends on where you are. This code specific, because the tariff in Enugu is different from the tariff in Lagos. But what's important there now is, like I said, is that over the years, we've not right-priced electricity tariff.
Agreed, but I'm simply saying on the average, by how much? Because sometimes we all should also put into cognizance the jump that this might be. If we're going to, I think that before now, NERC had put in place an incremental increase. If you do this, by this time we will increase to this amount. By this time we will increase to this amount. It was saying that this is the first time we're making a jump. People had complained about fixed charge, and it was saying that what they removed with one hand, they put back with the other hand. How much exactly did we increase tariffs by? So that if people are cheated, they can know. No,
there is no particular rate because it depends on the classes.
On the average?
Yeah, the classes are different.
On the average?
Some are saying 40%, some got increase of 40, some got increase of 40 something, some got nothing. But important thing for us also to know...
Is the highest you're aware of 40 something percent?
I'm not too sure about that figure. But what's fundamentally important about it is that the average Nigerian consumer who uses energy efficiently will get slight increase in his power rate.
If you're using the prepaid metering system.
If you're using the prepaid or even the analog metering system.
No,
if
it doesn't work for the estimated
That's where the problem
for
lies.
the estimated billing, like you said,
yes,
we cannot, the truth about the whole thing is that, yes, the distribution companies are desirous to meter all the customers.
Yes.
But then, we can't meter them overnight. There's no doubt about it. But what we did also is that we created a window where a willing customer can advance money, and within 60 days, he'll have meter installed inside.
What we are also looking to find, because as you rightly said, there has been an increase and it's been substantial. I think that's the reason why Labour will be out on the streets. They've not complained like this before. Maybe they'll just give a threat, but to actually go around to all the discos and make a very strong complaint, then there's been a substantial increase. What we are asking for people who have not been metered is, what can they do? People like me, I can't complain. You can control what it is that you use. If there's no electricity, then there's no electricity. My meter doesn't read. But for people who cannot control, I mean, you cannot even say, okay, they stop using their air conditioners, they've stopped using their iron, they've stopped using all the things that will take power in their houses. How do you begin to know that? How do the discos know that these people have become even more energy efficient?
We have an estimated billing methodology. It's not 100% perfect, but it's close to what it should look like of what a 3-bedroom would consume over time. But important thing also for us to note is that when we started the reform in telecommunication, we allowed, it was more like unregulated. I spent 2 days to buy my MTN card for 25,000 naira. But the reverse was the case in the power sector. We did not do the right thing in terms of pricing it as a product. If we had started from day one pricing electricity as a product that should be treated as a commercial product, we shouldn't be where we are today.
Are you going to be engaging with labor?
Our processes as enshrined in the Act allows for any aggrieved party to file their protests to the Commission. We've already gotten from 3 distribution companies. We're expecting that labor should have also filed such thing to our office.
All right.
That's our processes.
That's how far we can go today. Thank you for coming on this morning, even though there are several tweets. I think NERC should take a look at those and see how they could respond so that people can just understand what this is all about. Well, we've been speaking with Mr. Anthony Aka, who is the acting CEO of NERC. We will be back. We've got another perspective on the same matter. Just hold on. Don't go away.